Hello once again from a very snowy Sundance Film Festival. It's Matt Fury from Avid, here with another really cool editor to talk to about a hot project here at Sundance. The editor, of course, is Otto Burnham. The film is Superman, the Christopher Reeve Story. I'm really excited to see this. There's a lot of films I want to see here, but this one in particular, doing a documentary is always a challenge. Encapsulating the life of a public figure, I guess, even more so. So there's a lot of different takes you could do, I would imagine, on how you talk about Christopher Reeve. How did you guys do it?
Well, I work with two very talented directors, Ian Bonotte and Peter Ettegi, and Peter wrote the story for Superman before I started. So that was a good place to start. Effectively, we wanted to tell, obviously, Chris's journey to Superman and his extraordinary explosion to fame as a 24-year-old man. And we also really wanted to focus on his post-accident life, and obviously a terrible accident that a lot of people are very aware of, but really focus on his journey as a father and with his family in the years after his accident.
And how about your own journey? How did you get to be on the project?
Well, this is my third film with Peter and Ian, so we have been working together for a long time now. We'd been looking to work together for a couple of years. We did a film on the Paralympics called Rising Phoenix a couple of years before, and I grew up watching Superman. Christopher Reeve is my Superman, so of course when they said they wanted to make a film about him, I was on board.
Now, what is it about the documentary format that you find so interesting?
I think probably that it's a blank slate at the beginning, and with a public figure like Christopher Reeve, there is a mountain of both personal archive, family archive, and then obviously commercial archive. And it's just really exciting trying to work out how best to tell the story. And that comes from a lot of sketching, a lot of messing around in the edit. But I think the fact that it's a blank slate at the beginning, there is no single way to tell the story. That's the most exciting thing.
So going from that blank slate, are there certain pieces that you'll use as sort of tent poles, whether it's interview, testimonial footage? How do you go from blank slate to at least the first sort of rough sketch of the edit?
I think probably using master interview with, in this film with people from Chris's life, interviews that were shot for Superman, and kind of building like a rough assembly-ish of the story, and then obviously going through the process of set dressing it with archive, and then sort of subtracting that master interview back out and looking for inventive ways to tell the story in a different way.
So in a sense, you sort of build it up to tear it back down a little bit?
Exactly, yeah. And the tearing it apart is often the most fun thing. And to be honest, sometimes you know the story you think you want to tell, and then you'll stumble across one little nugget of archive, and you think, okay, we're going to build an entire scene around this, and maybe go in a direction that you weren't initially thinking of. That, and obviously music. The music plays a big role in the film, and we've got an amazing composer, Ilan Eshkeri, who would send tracks, and I would sketch things, and he would send back, and we had a really nice dialogue going. And I think that that often informed the storytelling decisions at certain times as well.
So what was your editorial setup and overall workflow for post on Superman?
At the beginning, it was a kind of split between remote and then working in the office. I had an assistant, the lovely Emiliano Lopez, who was helping us, and I would sort of spend 2 days at home beavering away in my kind of goblin attic, kind of going through footage and sketching ideas, and then I'd come in town and we'd tear those ideas apart, and with Peter and Ian, and we kind of dovetailed in that way. And then the further the project went along, the less time I spent at home and the more time we spent at the coalface. But it was good, and it was a typical kind of 2-monitor setup, and all the rest of it, all the standard things, really.
Yeah. Well, I know you cut it on Media Composer. Were there any tools that you find that were especially helpful to you doing a documentary?
ScriptSync. ScriptSync is the best thing in the world, because although you kind of mentally log and you have transcripts, although you mentally log all these little things you find, and you can apply as many markers and different ways of labeling as you possibly can, sometimes you just need a word, right? Or even a subject matter, and the power of that tool to just like, it just bailed me out so many times. Like I love it. We can't always afford it on every production, but it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Well, right about now, I think Heat would be the greatest thing in the world, but that's another story. In terms of you said you worked with a wonderful composer, needle drops, and also things that are evocative of different time periods of Chris's life. Was that a process that you worked through? Did the directors come to you with a curated playlist? How did that part work?
So we kind of started with a temp palette, and Elan kind of respected that, and like obviously tore a lot of it up, and Chris's career and Superman came out in 1978. And obviously he was in New York, and he's East Coast boy, and so some of the music we've got two timelines in the film. We've kind of got like a pre-accident and a post-accident, and we kind of move between those two throughout the film, which was a big challenge. But some of the music reflects, I guess, the era of the past, being the 70s, and then some of it's a bit more modern as well.
Okay. All right, so you said there you have your two timelines, which certainly does sound challenging if you're intercutting between those. Would you consider that the biggest challenge, or is there something else, another element of editorial where you're like, this was the hardest thing for me to get right?
I have to say the moving between the past and the present was tricky, because you don't want segues to be predictable. You don't want to think, okay, now we're going into this bit. And so I kind of wanted each one to feel different and to feel entertaining, and but also you not trying to interrupt the emotional mood of the story at that point while moving. I mean, sometimes you're juxtaposing the two lives, and so you're moving from moments of complete, like, ecstasy and success, and then you're bringing it straight back down to the reality of, say, what it's like when he first came home after having broken his neck. But yeah, that was the biggest challenge, was editorially and emotionally moving between those two narratives.
I mean, telling a story about a public figure like this, who can't speak for himself anymore. I mean, there's a lot to honor there, and there's a lot of responsibility there. Trying to figure out, do we have it? You might go through screening processes, but you also have people that he was a part of their lives, family and friends. What was that final process in terms of whether it's screening it for people that are just audience, or for like sharing it with people that were close to him? How did that process work?
That's a very good question. The family were very much on board with the project, and I think they've been approached many times to make a film about their dad, and they very kindly wanted to work with us and wanted to work with Peter and Ian, and they opened the family vault for us, and so there's a lot of extraordinary archive in there. And I think probably the most nerve-wracking time was when we first had to show them the film, because we knew it was a great responsibility telling a man of his stature's story, and I think when we got the thumbs up from them, that was like definitely the we've nailed it kind of moment,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a lot of admiration for documentarians. I certainly have a lot of admiration for people that take on the challenge of representing somebody like this, and I just want to congratulate you on that, and congratulate you on being at Sundance. I also have a lot of admiration for people that stand out in the snow and talk to me, so thank you for that, Otto.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, well, there's Otto Burnham. The film is Superman, the Christopher Reeve Story. Keep an eye out for it. It's certainly here at Sundance, but hopefully you'll be able to see it wherever you are soon. And stick with us on the Avid social media channels for more great content from Sundance.